So this is about 1996, West End, Cafe Bohemia. A wonderful place for a gathering of artists and poets and people. And this is why cafes exist, why they should exist. They're a home. They're a home to artists and poets. 1. Winter. He stole away from his Highgate Hill flat every Wednesday night with a vague return time and a cheap bottle of tawny port cupped under his armpit like a bull in his captured head. His long green trench coat gave his mahogany boots a shine as he swished along the length of Doorknob Terrace, past the Royal Queenslander on his left, that 3 years from now would be rented by his friends, but for the present was inhabited by band members from Powderfinger. Where 3 years later, they'd all gather to celebrate the marital fallout of his mission to Cafe Bohemia. His ears burnt like a deposed general's epaulets as he marched on like a man possessed, her call to him more powerful than any ancient siren. 2. He wanted to arrive first, to secure a coveted table within the tight margins of the coffee shop for her and her 2 friends, to demonstrate his thoughtfulness. Otherwise, it was standing room only as street poets and hipsters channeling Kerouac and his wine-dark prose filled up the dining space like blue cigarette smoke. He greeted fellow writers with a wave and a nod as he was lousy at small talk, but good at reading big poems. They were the Bohemian poets of Hargrave Road, 90s poets like black-bearded Francis in his perennial leather coat that he never ever took off until 20 years of listening to poetry, to the millions of words crooned about death, love and loss, had polished his mind's animal hide until his face shone like a god. 3. She entered the cafe wearing her friend's teal velvet coat. Auburn hair gleamed like a burnished tabletop. Candle stumps burnt down their short lives in front of them. They spread their wax wings down the wine bottle's stem, then dried their delicate delta shapes in the port breath of poets as the reading warmed up. They read poems about West End and Daniel Yock, about Murray protests and Charlotte Street, landlords and gentrification, and how all the boarding houses were lost. How that family house where that go-between singer grew up had been pulled down for the Greek Club. How the police raided Musgrave Park, and how Tracy Wigginton lapped up blood like a mangrove sucks mud. By the time it was his turn, his tawny was half drunk. 4. At the interval, Hank, the bespectacled Dutch organiser, would disappear into the kitchen with an assortment of followers, where Mira's goulash threatened to burn itself, tasty but mad in its pot. Here, in the wooden floorboards, there lived a small trapdoor which led from the galley to a secret lower deck, the cafe's oubliette. Here, poets fueled up on gunja, the smoke siphoned away by an invisible vent. Some, though, still wafted through the cafe's warped cracks, like a sailor's last breath as they drowned in an Eliot poem. Others snuck around the back where they lawn sprawled like they'd been in a shipwreck. Here, they met in piratical bliss until their friends drove her off, so he sculled his port. Last one. She thought he was silent, a bit mysterious, a poet from the country who tried to loom over her like Ted Hughes. The regulars didn't disappoint. Brentley, whose themes were a shade darker than the dirtiest black hole, his muse went on to star on TV as a master chef. Or Adam, the epitome of beat, who published for a decade, then like Rimbaud, gave it all up to run guns metaphorically. Or Lidija and her Serbian mystique, who trailed lovers around her neck like threads in a shawl. Or Rebecca, the poet of bones and mishap, who shaved her head so everyone could see her new world. Or Fakie, who read from industrial-sized postpacks he stole from the factory where he worked. Or the great Jeffro, whose mad blue eyes blazed forth Shakespeare's wild surmise. If poetry is the soul of cafes, then coffee is its blood. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Dionysius, a local